with estimating in general, one of the most common things is that estimating can mean different things to different builders. And some people see estimating as pure pricing, some people see estimating as pure takeoffs, but to get it right, you really need a good combination of the two.
Welcome to Building Perspective, the Master Builders SA podcast. I'm your host, Will Frogley. Join me as I speak with some characters in the building and construction industry.
With a house frame made from true core steel, your home is built to last. Choose the inner strength of true core steel.
Well, estimating can be an overlooked and often painful part of running a building business. And so it's very important you get it right. And today's guest, Tom Lawson from Vision 2 Estimating, is here to talk us through it. Tom, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Will. Appreciate it.
No worries. So, Tom, what's your background in the industry?
So my background is I come from timber framing. So I used to be a truss detailer, started about 10 years ago, and then moved through a timber company and slowly got into learning more and more about construction. I did a little bit of building study before that, and then moved into doing what we're doing today, which is estimating. And so helped go through timber estimating and framing, which is a pretty unique thing to South Australia, but then building that more into a whole boat project estimating, which is, what we do today at V2E.
Fantastic. And it is a new company, isn't it? It only started a couple of years ago?
Yeah, that's right. So it sort of started 2020. We started right in the heat of home builder grant. So started with lots of work on, which was great. And it was actually really good. Lots of first home buyer work, which was great to teach trainees on and that kind of stuff. But now going strong for 3.5 years-ish and moved into doing bigger and better things now.
And how many people are in the team? Where are you based? Are you right around the country?
Yeah, so our office is based here in Adelaide. So we've got a team of about 20 now, and we operate, all around the country. Lots of local guys here, but markets in Queensland, New South Wales, WA and Victoria heavily. And we've just done our first couple of projects in the States as well, in the US. So, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And I think what you offer is really about optimizing technology, isn't it? And we'll get to that. But probably a good starting point would be just your thoughts on estimating in general. What can go wrong? What are some common mistakes you see out there in the market?
Well, I think with estimating in general, one of the most common things is that estimating can mean different things to different builders. And some people see estimating as pure pricing. Some people see estimating as pure takeoffs. But to get it right, you really need a good combination of the two. And estimating is more a process than anything else inside the office. So I always like to look at estimating has both a quantity section of it, but also a pricing section of it. And the way you need to get a good estimate is be able to have a good balance of the both. Because if you have up-to-date pricing from your suppliers, your rates, it's really good. But if you can't quantify your project well, then it doesn't matter how good your pricing is, it's still going to be out. And the same token, if you could have the most accurate quantity takeoffs or quantity recipes built up in your estimate, but if your pricing is 6 months out of date, then again, you're going in with a bad estimate on the job. The different stages of estimating that come in different stages of the build process are also really important. How early you give your client a price, how early you go to lock in prices, and at what stage you go to do real quantities to be able to get real time costs compared to, just getting to site and I've sold this contract for this price, and now I've got to get to site and figure out how I've got to deliver it for that price. So, there's a fair bit that goes into it, I think.
Yeah, and it's been, I think, hopefully we're coming to the end of the worst of it, but I think it's been the most challenging time for pricing jobs in years. Through home building, you didn't know how much things were going to go up by, and that made it very difficult to price jobs, and that's caused a lot of pain for builders around the country. Thank God it does seem to be settling down a bit now in terms of the prices.
Yeah, that's right. And I think builders have had to learn to be a bit smarter, which is good and learning things like knowing products inside and out so that they know that if a client's fallen in love with some kind of product, but the price has skyrocketed, can we deliver something that gives the same aesthetic and feel, but isn't going to take 3 months to deliver to site, or is something that's going to be more cost effective for the client. Also, like really locking in your suppliers and trades, I think was a big one through home builder. And the market seems to start to free up a bit more, but I think relationships kind of were made or broken during that home builder and coming to the end of that. So having some good, reliable trades that you can actually have two-way conversation with and say, hey, I want to start getting better at pricing, estimating. Can you give me your, what do I need to quantify from you to be able to get your rates, to be able to get an accurate price so I know where my project's sitting, at any given time, rather than just going, here's what I think it's going to cost, here's what it did cost, and it not matching up.
Yeah, those relationships are always really important, but never more so than the past few years. That's something that we all saw, and there is the main inputs I think have settled down, but there are still some materials here and there that are still going up a bit in price, but compared with, say, a year ago or 2 years ago, it's a much more stable environment. But you still obviously got the issue of lack of trades, which is causing building times to blow out as well.
Yeah, that's right. And understanding not only what trades you're going to use when and having a good relationship, but it's really important from a whole building point of view to understand, what the scope of each of your trades is, and having that really clear between yourself as a builder and the trade that you're using or the supplier that you're using, because thinking, this trade's going to come in and do X amount of work and they only do half of it and then having to find someone else, or, thinking a trade's going to be a supply and install trade and then realize they're only supplying certain amounts of materials. And so then you've got to rush to, do trips around to hardware stores to pick up the other materials. So it's all those little 1%er items that build up. And those are the things that cause the most delays on project, the most cost overblows, is not understanding how your project's actually set up to run properly.
Yeah, that's really good advice. One on trades, one thing I've really noticed is that there's a lot of exhausted tradies out there at the moment. They're really burnt out from being really overworked over the past few years. And that's another sign why we need so many more in South Australia. Master Builders is really pushing for a skilled migration policy and also training more people locally. We need that, but you ask any builder, they need more trades today. So skill migration is seen as an obvious solution.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also again, this kind of relates to that knowing your project and product thing as well as your trades, it's looking at what trades are running short. So, I don't know too many kids that probably want to leave school to learn how to lay brick anymore. So obviously that's a trade that's going to get harder and harder to find, and harder to find skilled bricklayers. So there's going to have to be a natural selection of sorts of product selection, what we move to be able to counteract that. And so the more you can find trades that you can have a good relationship with to lock on to things, or the more you can start to pivot to be finding solutions now so that you don't all of a sudden get left without trades or without a product that you can't use anymore. Those are the decisions that the builder should be thinking about at the moment, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a really good report on our website it's called Future Proofing South Australia's Construction Workforce, and it estimates that we need about 15,000 extra tradies by 2027 just to meet demand. And there's a really good breakdown into trade by trade how many we estimate will be needed by that point. And no surprises, brickies is one of them, and obviously concrete is another big one. Carpentry, plumbing, electrical. I guess if there's an upside to all this is that any young person, and often not so young people, if you're looking to get in the building construction industry, it's a really great time because opportunities out there are extensive. I know with our group training organisation, we're always hiring. There's always jobs for people who want to be apprentices and get themselves into a career where they're quite clearly going to be in demand. Yeah,
that's right. And I think more and more at the moment, people are just looking for the help. So if you're looking to get into a trade, or you're looking to get on site, or even just any kind of role in the building industry, there's stuff out there, and there's a whole range of jobs and trades, and even what we do, service providers that are out there that are still looking for people to help, because as you can see in reports like that, the demand for houses that we're going to have to build here in SA and across the country just to be able to house homes for the people that are coming into the country and the people that are here is going through the roof. So we need to be active as a whole, as a building industry, and being able to make sure that we're ready for that as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting environment at the moment because there's a lot of people worried about interest rate rises, etc. But there's still a really massive housing shortage as well. And our rental market here in South Australia is the tightest in the country. People need homes to live. A lot of industries out there say they need more skilled labour, but again, where are they going to live? I think it makes a lot of sense to prioritise people who can actually help build the homes.
Yeah, I agree. And there's just, even in South Australia here, there's always more land opening up, which means there's more plots that are going to be, sectioned off, which means there's going to be more houses that need to be built. And there's only so many builders here, and there's only there seems to be more and more houses that need to be built. So, there needs to be more and more people to be able to, people to grow their business, to be able to build homes for the market.
Yeah, absolutely. Technology is an interesting area in our industry, and it's one that I think's probably untapped in South Australia compared with other places around the world. You are offering a bit of a technological solution in estimating, aren't you? Do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, we do. So, like estimating traditionally, we look at V2E, we look at estimating from the quantity side of view, because we're pretty big on our processes being able to give the builder that idea of, if we can give you a really accurate breakdown of what materials you need in your job, but not only what materials, and the labor components, but also trying to understand the way you do it. So, you mentioned concreting before. Does your concreter give you a quote on every job, or does he need a square meter rate, a number of piers, linear meter of footings? Really learning how a builder actually breaks his quote down so that we can give him quantities that are accurate for him to be able to put his pricing to. So part of what we do is give those quantities with the idea that the builder then gets more time, or his in-house estimator or admin staff gets more time to be able to be getting better prices, or holding the pricing catalog up to date, so that by the time we give them some quantities, they can actually put an accurate price together for their job. But the way we do that is a bit different to traditional. So traditional estimating is scale ruler, lead pencil, an Excel spreadsheet. Maybe you've upgraded to, measuring a PDF or coloring a PDF, things like that. But again, all those methods we find is how do you trust what you've done equals the takeoff that you've been given? If I gave you just a colored in PDF and said, here's, the floor area that I've measured, and I've got all these different items, an estimate for you, and here's a spreadsheet. If you want to double check it, you go and figure out all the workings yourself. You might as well redo it yourself as a builder, which is, there's no point paying for something if you've got to do it yourself again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what we've tried to develop is that idea of building in the office, which is, for us, means that introducing 3D technology into estimating. So one of the other points that we found builders sometimes struggle with is their document control, or, understanding if you've got a huge architectural house and you might have architectural plans, engineering, framing docs, civil docs, electrical, plumbing. There could be 10, 15 sets of documents, and trying to go through all of them and figure out what document you need to go where to be able to see what, and how does that interact with that, and has the engineer cross-checked with the plans properly to make sure that the air conditioning's going to not stick through a steel beam, all those kind of things that normally don't get picked up until the house is half built. What we've tried to do is say, well, give us all your documents, give us all the information. We'll put all of it together into one working construction 3D model for you, give you access to it, so that way you can actually visualize the project before it even gets to site. Not only that, as part of our technology, we've built in what we call our cost center viewer. And essentially what that means is you can break down the model to double check and isolate each section, so that if you've got a full list of items or labor, you can break down the 3D model and see anything that relates to that. So if you wanted to see all the mesh and Rio on a job, you can open up our dialog box inside the 3D, double click on the reinforcement button, and it will snap the view to just show you ligs, rods, mesh, all that kind of stuff. So we're really pushing for that idea of building in the office before you get to site. So that way, any of your clash detection details, understanding what's actually going into the build, being able to check to make sure the way you've calculated your estimate is actually going to work for the job. You can have all those conversations and nut out all those problems before you even start on site.
Sounds like a very interesting system you got there. How's the take-up been? Again, you're a fairly new business, but it has been a busy building industry. How's the take-up been?
Yeah, it's been really, really good. The comments we always get are things like, on site, being able to use the 3D model to see how things are going to go together with, especially at the moment, the trends are rake ceilings with different pitches to the roof pitch, parapets and low roofs being hidden behind box guard, all those kind of things. So being able to actually visually see how things are going to go together on site is really, really where we're getting lots of good feedback, especially because the way we've built our model viewer is that it actually links to a QR code that we can give the builder. And we also, when we're doing timber framing layouts for people, we'll put it on the layout. So a chippy on site can actually just bring up his phone, scan it up, and it brings up the model of the house he's building just on his phone to be able to flick around. So the comments we're getting are really good for, being able to use it on site, checking construction details, those kind of things.
That's good. Obviously, with new technology, how do you go about training people to be able to use it? Is it complicated? Is it easy to pick up? What do you do to assist people?
Well, Michael, our business owner, likes to joke the reason we wrote this 3D viewer with a QR code is because he couldn't figure out how to download any software to run it himself. So that's the one way we've tried to make it easy, is that making it just so it lives on our web portal. So when you complete a job, you get given a web link. If there's any amendments to the job, we re-upload the live version. So making it really simple by making it accessible for everybody and shareable for everybody. We also have on our website some training videos on, what buttons to click where, this is how you bring this up. And then also, we're really big at V2E on having relationships with our customers. So anytime we complete the first estimate for somebody, we try and have a good, couple hour session with them to talk them through, this is how we've come up with this. Does this work for you? Does this not? This is how our, modelers design this or come up with how this is going to be put together. Is that how you had it in your head? So trying to open up that two-way conversation between the builder and us, and actually give them a point of call that they can ring up if they've got questions. Say, hey, we've got this job. This is how it was allowed. Not sure if it's going to work. What can we have a look at? Being able to look at it together at the same time, talk through it on the phone, look at quantities, those kind of things. That's where we really see our strength as being a relational company.
That's good. Is there any particular part of the market where the uptake and feedback's been especially strong?
Look, a lot of the strongest ones has been on custom home builders, because
would have thought so.
Yeah, every job's different. They're not jobs. But again, with custom home builders, one of the biggest, things I hear, maybe misunderstandings I hear, is that because it's a custom home, every job's different. So I can't run it the same way because there's always different things. Which, yes, every job's different, which may mean the design's different, the materials may be different, where you're building, those kind of things. But if you're solid in your process of your building, what steps you take your customers through, how you estimate your job, what stage you give your prices to people, and how detailed you take your estimate of what stages in the pre-construction stage and on site, then even if the jobs are, one is a huge mansion and one's a little granny flat, they can still run the same as long as you're really solid in your building process.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where we've seen the biggest uptake from it, because people can see it and go, well, this is something that I can now build into my process. And a lot of the initial conversations we have with people about introducing an external estimator into their business is, how does that work? I can't control it. Am I going to lose, where I'm at with the job? And that's where we're really big on the no. If you're solid in your process, we'll fit to where you need us to fit. So we've got, for instance, some customers who we work on their concept plans and we give them what we call our prelim build estimate. And that might be 50, 60, 70 line items, a few takeoffs, but more, overall measurements, things like that. But it's enough data that inside their software or inside their office, they're confident they can put a price to a customer with. And then we've got other customers who, on the other end, go, I'm going to wait until I've got a contract signed, I've got every piece of information, and then they send all of the information to us and we're giving them a fully, detailed BOQ of what they need in their job. So number of, downlights that have been signed off on the electrical layout, cube of concrete, mesh and Rio, all that stuff. But again, it's done to suit the way that builder runs, because if you're a builder and you paid for an estimate from somebody and it was 25 pages long with, 300 items on every page, it's going to be too overwhelming to have to sit down, or to have somebody in your office sit down and try and filter through what information you can actually get out of it and use. Whereas we're big on, all right, you tell us how you actually cost your jobs, how you run your trades, what items do you get quoted? So if your plasterboard's always supplied and installed quoted, then there's no point you needing a 150 line plasterboard takeoff, because it's just going to be pointless and it's going to be information that's going to bog you down. But if what you really want to do is supply all your bricks and sundries, and so you want a really broken down bricks and sundries takeoff, then that's something that we'll do for you. So that's what I sort of mean by we're really big on learning about the builder themselves and trying to build that relationship together.
Yeah, that's great. And what's Vision to Estimating's, I guess, goal? What are they trying to accomplish in the next 10 years?
Yeah.
Really cement your position in the market as a key solutions provider for builders, or what?
Yeah, I think that's what we are. And we're always been about trying to tell builders that there are options out there. They don't have to, bear it all on their own backs. There's options to get help out there. One of the biggest things we saw, especially on things like 3D technology and estimating solutions and things like that, is that a lot of the options that are out there at the moment are really focused on tier 1, tier 2, big commercial things. So
True. Yeah.
they're huge in costs, and they're designed to be projects that last 2 years in development before they even get to site, because they're multi-story apartments or hospitals, things like that. But there was nobody really being able to provide the same level of technology at a residential level. Mm-hmm. So giving custom residential home builders the option to have 3D in the office, construction working models, personalized, customizable, outsourced estimating, but at an affordable residential rate as well.
That's the key for getting it established, I think, in the residential market. Yep. It's, as you said, it's got a big place in those big commercial jobs.
That's right.
Hopefully. I mean, what is your pricing like? Can you give us a bit of an idea?
We always price job by job, because what it comes down to for us is, and this is again a part of that relationship that we build, is we go, how detailed is the project? But not only how detailed is the project, how detailed do you need your estimates to be, and how detailed do you need your drawings to be? Mm-hmm. Because for us, it's about how long it takes us to develop a model and develop an estimate and work through it all with you. And so we really like to look at each project individually, because we really want to focus as much of our time into each project, because especially custom residential, architecturals, renovations, extensions, it's really hard to be able to put a blanket rule across things, because there's so many anomalies that you can pick up on. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been a very interesting chat today, Tom. Sounds like a very exciting product you got there, and looking forward to seeing Vision to Estimating continuing to grow and helping out South Australian builders. So thanks for coming on today.
No, thanks for having me, Will. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Thanks, mate.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining me on Building Perspective. For more information on master builders or our guests, please visit our website at mbasa.com.au.